Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you for that kind introduction, Alex. It is a real honor to be here with you this evening. Oftentimes throughout my startup journey, I've felt a little bit like an outsider in the sense that we're not the traditional tech startup. We haven't raised a huge amount of money. We don't work in a particularly cool space. The auto industry doesn't necessarily scream innovation, except at GM and autonomous, apparently. But automotive retail has been one of those sectors that has been far removed from the innovations that we've seen in pretty much every other retail sector. But it is a real privilege to be with you tonight. My name is Andrew Tai, CEO at Motoinsight. We started as Unhaggle, which is a brand that some of you may know more well known, if you will. We have a mission to bring e-commerce to the automotive industry, and so we build digital retailing platforms for the automotive industry. Some of the brands that you may recognize, we power Kijiji New Cars, Consumer Reports, Black Book. We power digital retailing experiences for big automakers like Hyundai and Nissan and Genesis, where we're actually bringing the vision of being able to buy a car online without having to negotiate and hassle to life. But enough about Motoinsight. Really my hope tonight is to be able to share with you those brothers and sisters, entrepreneurs in arms, share with you a little bit of inspiration, and share with those that are entrepreneurs to be a little bit of inspiration. And so I want to go through some of the things that I've learned and gathered as an entrepreneur, and people have passed on to me, and hopefully I can pass those on to you. Title of my talk is growing from startup to business. One of the things that is often misunderstood is that a startup isn't necessarily a business, right? Businesses, I've learned, actually grow from startups, but have real customers, real profitability, real revenues, and solve real problems. And that's something that took us a while to figure out. Some of the lessons that we've learned in this journey, going from zero to millions of dollars in revenues and profitability, are one, revenue is king. I think you have to take this with a grain of salt in that I think if Facebook started to generate revenue too early, you might not have Facebook. But from our personal experience, for us, revenue was the lifeblood of our company. But what it did was actually cut through a lot of the BS around, are we really solving a problem? Are customers really willing to pay for what we're doing? And for us, that was the ultimate test, whether customers actually will pay for it, not just say they like it, but actually pay for what we're doing. 90% of the revenues that we actually generate today did not exist in day one. And the lesson that we learned from that is you have to constantly evolve to survive as a technology company in a highly competitive space. We started with zero, but throughout that process, we've constantly evolved ourselves. It is a bit of a survival of the fittest, if you will. And so don't be afraid to adapt and zig and zag. We've all done it, right? As I said, 90% of what we do today as a business didn't exist on day one. One of the earliest mistakes I think I made personally as an entrepreneur, especially when we were early on and hadn't quite found our own identity, was we spent a tremendous amount of time focusing on other people's games. I can tell you the vast majority of competitors that I read about in various press that I've agonized over don't even exist anymore today, right? And especially when you're working in a nascent space, in a fast-moving industry, focus on your own game and innovate as opposed to worrying about what the other guy is doing and spending your energies that way. And you know what? Millions of dollars in revenues later, it doesn't really get any easier. For those that are still in the trenches, it will always be hard. This actually, just today, the time that I had spent trying to, this morning, that I allocated to prepare for this presentation, went out the window because this is what my day looked like today. And so I've found that problems just get different and bigger, but that's okay, right? Keep calm and kick on, because I like the Mighty Mighty Duck, my favorite movie, but like the Mighty Mighty Duck, most entrepreneurs, when they appear calm and cool on top, they're actually kicking furiously underneath. So it's okay if that's you too. If you're just hanging on, trying to keep it going, that's okay. I'm in the same boat as you, keep it going. And finally, I'd say, don't go it alone. I've got 3 other co-founders that have gone through this journey with me, and a whole litany of mentors. One piece of advice that I have for mentors is look for a mentor that has no absolute vested interest in your business. Outside of your board, outside of people that you've given options to, outside of your investors. And if you're fortunate to have someone that truly cares about you and your well-being, that's a tremendous trait to look for in a mentor. And so, those are just some of my musings and observations through my journey as an entrepreneur. I think my 5 minutes are up. Happy to take questions. We're allowed to take questions, right? Okay.
Cool.
Go for it.
Thank you. That was a lovely speech, by the way. I just wanted to know, so when you started out, what were some of the, what loose ballpark number of money did you start out with, or what situation did you start out with, or how was that for you?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, fortunate or unfortunately, we had a really crappy time raising money at the beginning. No one wanted to fund our idea. And that forced us to have a tremendous amount of discipline with the little bit of money that we had saved up to start this business. But it really cut through for us the things that we should be doing and things that shouldn't be doing, pushed us to validate our idea by finding people that will actually pay for the solutions that we're putting out there. And so, in hindsight, it was a bit of a blessing and a curse, but we've never raised a real venture round. We did a small seed round in September 2012, that just kind of helped us get going. But I think one of the messages that I have is raising money isn't the only way to get your business off the ground. I think if you're able to validate your business with real revenues, real customers, that puts you in a fundamentally different position. And so I think we actually made the mistake. I made the mistake that the first thing, my gut reaction the very first day was to go raise money, right? But really hadn't validated anything just yet. So I think we probably didn't deserve to raise money in those early days. But it's one of the things that we've learned. Thanks. In the back there. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, great. I was curious to know, when you acquired your first customer, I'm guessing that you tried a few different channels. What's the channel that worked best for you guys and why? Thank you.
Yeah, so the question was, when we first acquired our customers, what were the channels that worked and why? What's interesting thing about our business is we actually have both a consumer-facing side, Unhaggle, Consumer Reports, Kijiji New Cars, and others, and we actually have an enterprise side of our business where our clients are major automakers, banks, insurance companies, and the like. And so what we found was it's very different depending on the business segment that you're talking to. I think for us, not having a lot of money to throw at customer acquisition on the consumer side, we very early had to get very disciplined about how much money we lost on AdWords driving customers, and there was a kind of a OMG moment where we realized we were losing tons of money driving volume. You can't make up a negative loss per customer by just doing more volume. And that was a big learning for us. But again, it's that real focus on delivering real value for customers and at the same time doing it in a sustainable way. That was a big focus for us on the consumer side. We found great opportunity in partnering with those that already have the audience that we have, right, or that we want to be in front of. So we grew and launched on Haggle.com, but we also power sites like Kijiji's, like Consumer Reports, people that already have the audience, but we have the technology and we have the tools. On the enterprise side of the business, we've actually been very fortunate where we work in a space where you can fairly easily create a list of the customers that you want to talk to on enterprise, the banks, the insurance companies, the automakers, and whatnot. And so that was a totally different skill set in learning, how to deal with enterprise sales, which in some ways is easier because you can identify and talk to the customer, right? But at the same time, it's a longer sales cycle. So bottom line, there is no silver bullet. There is no easy solution. I've been on both the enterprise side and the consumer side. It's equally tough, right? And you just got to keep kicking on and carrying on. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.